Welcome to UNCAGED, a show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Milan Rao. Milan, how are you?
I'm doing very well, man. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to talk to you. Milan has an amazing background, really as a transformational leader, heavily in the technology space. He is currently the president of Smart Energy Water. Smart Energy Water is doing a lot of really cool things, but they are the #1 digital customer experience platform for energy, water, and gas providers worldwide that harness the power of digital to better address customer needs and build future-ready businesses. And I think that that's really something Milan's focused on a lot in his career. And so we'll talk about what he's doing at Smart Energy Water, but also some of the other things he's done in his career. And let's start there, Milan. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Well, I've been a global business executive with a lot of focus on technology. So I spent a lot of my formative years in India in large multinational companies like Citibank, Morgan Stanley, and Bharti Airtel, which is a telecom leader in India. And then with GE Healthcare, where I was leading the business in India and emerging markets in Asia and Africa. I then moved into Wipro, which is my full-fledged technology stint as president, and where I looked after Wipro's transformation office, which we used to call MIT, Marketing, IT Innovation and Technology, and also managed a couple of strategic business units globally, including manufacturing and telecoms. And for the last 1 year, I've been here at Smart Energy Water, really leading the expansion of the company globally and into the exciting world of SaaS.
I can imagine there's just amazing stories that you have from the times that you worked at Wipro, but I wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper on what you're working on right now. It's such an interesting space, and with the focus globally on sustainability and really kind of using technology to support that type of work. Tell me a little bit about what you and the team are working on right now.
Absolutely. And you said the right words, sustainability, conservation, these are very, very important. How technology can be leveraged in order to bolster these efforts that are taking place around the world is really what part of what Smart Energy Water is all about. We have platforms around customer engagement. And this really think of any kind of engagement you as a consumer might have with your utility. It might be a water or energy or gas utility. It might be, on the website where you're checking your bills. It might be on a mobile app where you're trying to figure out what your energy consumption is. You're reporting an outage or you have a query through the contact center or through social channels. So all of that as an omni-channel experience is what we provide, and we connect over 1 billion people all around the world through our platform. So that's one. The second one is around field force and workforce management. So think of, and I often liken this to the Uber experience. The front end is really, as a consumer, you're trying to grab a taxi and you order one. At the back end, they're trying to figure out, where are those taxis available? Who are the drivers which are free? What's the one which is closest to you? How can you be served the best? And send that information back to you. So the workforce management is really about that. We understand the processes of the utility. We make sure that the work orders are executed. They're most efficiently managed. We have details about asset management, about the GIS systems, which give the location, if there's an outage as an example, and are able to provide all of that information to the field force so that they can efficiently manage the customer. And lastly, we do a lot of analytics work. We have over 1.5 billion data points, which are passing through us.
I immediately, what I thought of, Milan, was, oh my God, what a database. I mean, what
Right.
an incredible database. And I can only imagine the insights that you're going to be able to pull from that that can be utilized to actually make the overarching energy solution much more efficient going forward.
Absolutely. And I think, the key is in the insights, and the key is in enabling our customers to be able to make the right choices. And we have this amazing internal line which we say educate, enable, and empower, right? So you're basically getting the customers to understand and then empower themselves in their goals, whether it is reducing cost, reducing their carbon footprint, finding the right EV charging point as an example, or trying to figure out, how to best utilize and optimize the energy, how to make sure that there is enough amount of efficiency within the systems that they're using, whether it's an HVAC or air conditioning or
Yeah.
kitchen appliances and so on and so forth. So I think that's very key. If you make people understand the nature of the problem, you tell them how they can solve it, and you provide that digitally, it enriches the customer experience incredibly. And through that, the experiences that the utilities are providing to their customers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can only tell you as a customer all the bad experiences I've had with utilities. And I could tell you that anything that provides greater clarity and explains the why and the where and the how in a way that's meaningful is only a good thing. But let me kind of change the focus a bit and talk about really your broader background, Milan. I mean, you've got an incredible history as a transformational leader, really from the advisory side, the consulting side, all the way into a variety of businesses in several verticals. I mean, tell me some of the things that you're seeing about how technology is being utilized as a change agent right now.
I think that's an incredible question because oftentimes, we talk about how technology is changing the way we present ourselves or the way we work, but oftentimes we don't really focus on how technology is focused on the end use
Mm,
towards the betterment of society. So if I take a simple example like water,
mhm,
due to the energy crisis and water crisis we've been seeing all through the summer, technology can be used in multiple ways within water to make available potable water to millions of people around the world. Starts from the availability of clean water, wastewater, to make sure that ultra purification techniques are used, nanotechnology is used to create better water,
mhm.
to understanding how the water is supplied. So that could be through smart metering, energy devices, IoT, uh, to understanding the data, which is where we talked a little bit about analytics. We talked
Mhm.
about AI, ML, and how you can be predictive in the kind of data that you can have, how we can create a digital twin that sort of, enables companies to figure out where is it that the problem is likely to occur
Right,
before it occurs, right?
right.
And lastly, about the customer experience itself that we talked about, the expectation really is, in our personal lives, we have these amazing applications that we're using for daily use.
Mm,
Why would technology not enable us to use energy better or healthcare better? I mean, I go back to my stint in healthcare, and the entire focus was around patient experience. So to me, customer experience and the usage of technology for betterment of the customer experience and for the enrichment of lives of the customer is really what
I gotta
drives me
tell
to
you,
work
I
every day.
mean, talk about an industry that whilst there really are almost probably trillions of dollars at this point going into healthcare, digital, and data management, talk about a vertical that still seems to just be clueless. I can't tell you how many times, you walk into a medical institution and they hand you a clipboard and ask you to fill out these 10 pieces of paper with data. And last time I did it, I remember me saying to the nurse, I said, what's going to happen to this paper? Where does it go now? She said, oh, well, we fax it to a company that then enters the data into a database. And I'm sitting there like,
Right.
how inefficient is that? Like, like how many mistakes by how many points of human error are you creating here?
Right.
It's just like the worst way of collecting information. But I understand the sensitivities on privacy, etc.
Right.
However, I guess I strongly feel like maybe we've over-indexed on our focus on privacy and under-indexed on the quality of medical care.
There's the question of privacy, and there's also this question around regulatory requirements. And, oftentimes, rightfully so, companies tend to err on the side of caution. And there's sometimes so much of abundant caution that they take that it sort of, breaks the process. And I think, leadership really is around how you can intelligently manage the requirements of the customers, of the stakeholders, of the regulators, and at the same time respect privacy and security norms, which
Yeah.
need to be there.
Yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely. I have to be there. It's just getting that kind of balance right of how do we push things forward to be more efficient and helpful for people in their lives,
the,
you
the
know?
one thing which I believe truly will change things and is changing things is you have to think about experience in the 360 or omni-channel, because what typically tends to happen is that data might be connected in one channel, but it still needs to be transmitted in some form of fashion by changing it into another channel. And that's
Mm,
really when all the breakdown happens, because then you sort of need to go over it over and over and over. And I think that's why, structuring of the data, connectedness within the data. I mean, I often talk about data as like an atom. And if you get the right data, you can create the molecules, the complex compounds that you want, and they can be truly beautiful, but you need to get the atom right.
yeah, completely. Well, listen, let me change gears a little bit, Milan. I mean, over the last couple of years, we've been going through this really, I'd say, memorable moment, probably the moment of our lives, in the sense that the pandemic really changed a lot of things. I feel like it was quite a watershed moment
You tell
in many,
me.
many industries. But
Right,
tell me more about what your experience has been and some of the learnings that you're seeing that we should be taking away from this time.
right. No, I think, there are two things which have happened. One, people consciously know of, which is the pandemic. But the one which is the sort of subconscious change is actually the arrival of Gen Z into the workforce. Those who were born 1995 onwards, they've really come in either just before the pandemic or during the pandemic into the workforce.
Wow.
And their attitudes towards work, their attitudes through the learning process and the process of learning per se has been very different from what even the millennials that we've been focused on have been through. And therefore, when they come into work and they come in a situation which is completely changed by the pandemic, to them, this is the reality. And
Mm,
therefore, uh, what has changed? Clearly, work has gone hybrid. I don't think it's ever going to go back to 100% office, and but it's not going to be remote, because it's not going to be 100% remote, because I think there are lots of issues there. Emotional connectedness, and I talk about that a lot. Just the fact that you're around peers, and there's a happiness which is associated with that. The culture of the office, the corridor breaks, the coffee breaks, all of that. I think,
yeah.
so the hybrid is here to stay, and how that hybrid needs to be managed is very important. How do you engage employees in this scenario, given that the nature of the employees are changing, as well as the way in which they've been working has been changing? I think those two are an incredible combination. And then just the pervasiveness of technology, whether it's collaboration tools, whether it's, AR, VR enhancements that have been taking place, which are truly amazing, especially in the sphere of training and in retail and in ordering, the proliferation of digital in the end-to-end, the customer experience which has changed, the amount of AI and ML which has sort of worked its way into virtually every aspect of technology, and the fact that you could actually be sitting anywhere in the world and doing your work fairly effectively. I think those are some of the bigger changes. But I think we need to understand that that technology leap, which is not taking place in 2019, that has been sort of, really stimulated by the pandemic, if I may say
Yeah.
so. And
Yeah,
so that is
for
not going to change
sure.
either. The impact of technology and the fact that, there were some people who would say, I'm inured to technology, I just want to do it the old way. That unfortunately is not going to happen anymore. And therefore, you need to understand these changes and you need to be really open yourself to these fresh experiences and the new technologies that are coming in, because that's really going to test your relevance over the course of the next 10 years and more.
Yeah, I think, Milan, one of the things that you highlighted right up front there was Gen Z. And I find that fascinating. You're actually one of the first people I've heard highlight that. And I think that when you think about your own lives as leaders, and you think about how important those first, let's say, 3-4 years of your career were, in building mentorship relationships, and what an interesting world we're weaving here, Milan. What an interesting,
Exactly.
we'll see how this all shapes up. Well,
Yeah.
listen, I mean, we went from the pandemic right into this unusual economic cycle that we're going into. I mean, what do you think the next year looks like for you guys?
Well, I think the good part in technology is that, technology is really invested into when things are going well, and technology is turned to when things are not going well. So in that sense, enhancement of technology is always going to be important, and therefore the future is bright for all technology companies, not just for us. From our perspective, I think definitely three or four emerging themes. One is clearly EV is going to be very important because we see that the amount of focus on infrastructure, the fact that there are so many more vehicles out there,
Yeah.
we can enable our customers to understand, where the infrastructure is, how much of energy requirement is there, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one major change. Customer experience is going to be enhanced significantly. I think we've seen that in the pandemic, and that's a sort of undeniable shift that is going to happen over the course of the next few years as well. So we see a lot of focus on that. And the third area is really analytics propelled by AI ML is being demanded more or less by everybody, whether it's energy retailers, whether it's utilities, whether it's grid companies, EV farms, infrastructure owners, smart cities, and so on and so forth. So we'll see a lot of that sort of coming through, and a lot of it will come through in a sort of 360-degree fashion. So you'll actually see smart cities. There are actually smart country blueprints which are being drawn right now, which is
Yeah.
at the next level. And I think a lot of that is going to be because of the connectedness of the databases and the ability to draw insights from lots of different points and apply those towards a larger data set. And I think
Yeah.
that reflects, in a sense, the globalization that we're going through, and it's going to happen faster than it has happened in the 2010s.
Milan, it's been amazing talking with you. I mean, we've been covering a wide, broad landscape today, talking about really the transformational nature of technology in helping us deal with some of the largest societal problems that we're facing right now. Milan, if someone wanted to reach you and learn more about what you're working on, where's the best place to connect with you?
Well, I'm available on LinkedIn and linkedin.com/in/Milan Rao. I'm also available on Twitter at Milan Rao, so that's an easy way to reach out to me. Uh, so I'm happy to actually have those conversations because I think this is an agenda that needs furthering, and the more that we
Yeah.
reach out, the more it'll help all of us.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us on Uncaged Day, Milan. It's been a really wonderful conversation. We've been speaking with Milan Rao, who is the president of Smart Energy Water. He's been the president of Wipro. He's been a leader at a wide variety of companies, really driving transformational change using technology. And we've been talking to him about really all of the changes that we're seeing today, especially with the pandemic, where the use of technology surged, and the way that we're implementing it to evolve and dramatically change our society is really taking shape. So Milan, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me, Grant. It's been wonderful talking to you.
It's wonderful to talk with you as well. We look forward to having you back.